I'm about to give you 5 tips if you're a real estate investor investing in this recession to help you with your real estate investment business, get through the recession, not just surviving, but thriving. And I'm gonna give you 5 tips today that are gonna help you save a lot of time, increase your income, and avoid a lot of stress. Now, if you guys like this video, I have probably another 10 talking points I could do. I could probably do a series of videos like this, where I could put out another video with 5 more tips to help you guys through the recession. But you guys let me know if you like this video first before I do that. Now, the other thing is I read your comments from last video. For all of you that did so, I appreciate you doing so. I'm going to make videos specifically on those topics. Don't worry, give me a little time here. I will be working on those videos and I'll have them coming out. So if you guys have ideas for videos that you want to see, put them in the comment box below. If you like this video, put it in the comment box below that you want to see more videos like this. And the last thing is, thank you for all you guys that left this channel and went on over to my brand new YouTube channel. It's my personal brand channel, Connor Steinbrook, on overall entrepreneurship. A lot of you guys have sent me messages behind the scenes saying that you love the new channel, so thank you for doing so. I'm going to be putting most of my videos out on that channel on overall entrepreneurship going forward. Time management, communication, leadership, marketing, prospecting, anything and everything in between. Now, that channel's built in a sequential order, meaning first video, next video, and every video after that to teach you guys exactly what I did from when I was living at home with my parents, 100 grand debt, to the step-by-step process I did in the exact order to change my life to lead me to building some of these big businesses that you guys know I built, one of them being one of the biggest businesses in our industry. Now, go check that out. That all being said, let's dig into the video, guys. This is the first one. I want to give you the first tip on how to make sure that you're prepared to go through the recession. And here it is. Number one, this is the number one piece of advice I can give you to go through this coming recession as a real estate investor or an entrepreneur, which is turn the television off, turn the media off. Now, I'm about to go through some very detailed talking points on actual business practices, exit strategies, and so on. We'll get into this. This is the only thing that matters for you right now, in my opinion. Turn the media off. They're selling fear and they're selling lies, just so you do realize. So why is this so important and why is this impacting your business and why are you losing money and why could this destroy your business as you go through this correction? Well, for one, look at your time allocation. If you're watching the news every single day, for one, you're fueling your body with poison and you don't understand why you don't feel so good, right? That's the reason why. Now, the time that takes to put this poison in your body is time that you can't apply to your business. So if you spend an hour watching negative fear-selling media, and you could take that hour back and put it into your business, and every single second you put into the media versus your business, if you can measure this, which one do you think would be higher? Your income if you only worked on your business, or your income if you spend most of your time living in fear and worry based off poison being put into you and still kind of working on your business? So the first thing is the time allocation. One, that alone is hurting your business and your income. The second thing is you're making bad decisions in your business today because of fear in your body and in your mind. You need to understand something, guys. Fear is not real. What is fear? What is the definition of it? It is something in the future, an outcome that's negative, that we're scared that we do not want to have happen, that we emotionally involve ourselves in the present by thinking about it, of what we don't want to have happen in the future. So if I'm scared that my business is going to fail because the market's coming, I'm going to panic. I'm going to get caught up in the fear of this. Now, what if it never happens? Think about how many people had the best years of their career after the pandemic. Think about how many had their worst years. The difference is the emotional involvement and the fear thoughts, those that didn't listen to it and put it behind them. So fear is not real, but we act off it as it is in the present. So if I do things today, say things to friends and family or partners, or I take actions I wouldn't have otherwise because there's fear in the future that I'm scared of, but I actually take those actions today that cause problems for me in my real life today, how is this beneficial for me going forward? I could literally be fearful of something happening, make an action today that causes me to lose money or buy a bad deal or hurt a relationship. So they're selling fear. Do not listen to it, guys. I'm not pounding this in anymore. It is the single worst thing that you can do. Save the time, put it in your business. Save your mind, have a clear mind to build your business. Now let's go into number 2 and talk about some practical steps that you guys can have for your business to grow your business going through this recession. Now for number 2, I'm talking mostly to house flippers or any of you guys that are in construction, taking rental properties back, building new houses. I want you to understand these couple talking points here real quick to possibly help you with your business, minimize risk. The first one is to keep in touch with the price point that you're playing in. Historically, looking back at the last crash, who got hit the hardest? The high price point markets. They went down the fastest, they got hit the hardest, and the reason why is because of market share depletion. Think about the top of the market. Everything in life is structured as a pyramid. Most people don't understand that. Everything is a pyramid. At the top of the tip is the highest priced buyer, or the buyers are going to buy the highest priced properties in the marketplace, I guess you could say. Now, in a recession or a depression, do you think there's more wealthy people or less wealthy people? Do you think there's more buyers looking for really expensive properties or less buyers? Now, also what happens is the people that are at the top that can buy those properties, they're also intelligent. They're also savvy in business, right? That's why they have a lot of money. Do you think they're less or more likely to buy a house at the top of the market right now, like a $7 million house or even a $1 million house? Or do you think they're going to sit back because they understand that we're going to see a correction and wait for property values to go down? So my first bit of advice is stay in the lower price points. Make sure that you're looking at your renovation budgets ahead of time. Do not go into a project unless you know all your expenses, because with inflation, think about the changes in price points of all sorts of different products that we use to renovate properties and in materials. Make sure you do not buy a property in the wrong price point that's too high up there and you have not run a very detailed breakdown of your materials and expenses to that project. Because what could happen is this: you could have a potential huge profit spread in that deal, but you're going to get caught and not be able to finish it because you don't have the money to finish it because you overextended yourself on the project. So when you're dealing with smaller properties and you're dealing with lower price points, you have less room for error, you have less materials that you can go over on. And also, if you get to a spot where you can't sell the property, you're not reducing it by giant $50,000 price drops at a time, much smaller price drops. And also, much lower carrying costs. If you get stuck with a property at the top of the market that's got a big carrying cost, $5,000 to $10,000 a month, what do you think this is going to do to your operating capital? So what I would do right now is be very wary. As you buy properties, go into those subdivisions, go into your MLS, look at all the comps, look at what's sold recently, look at what's pending, look at what's under option contract right now, look at days on market, look to see if those neighborhoods are having price reductions. If they are, if days on market are going up and price reductions are happening, be very wary to buy at that price point right now, guys. Be patient. What you can do is wholesale. We'll talk about that going forward. But I want you guys to understand something here real quick. Be careful with your renovation costs. I would take on projects right now, if you're going to flip them, that do not have very difficult renovation budgets to them, meaning you're not remodeling things, you're not tearing down walls, you're not doing things that could extend projects that have potential time delays because of permitting issues or city issues that could slow you down. Some of you guys know that you've in your market had big problems with the city since the recession or since the pandemic. This could happen during this time as well. So make sure, protect yourself, play in the right price point, run your budget ahead of time, check that activity in that neighborhood, make sure there's demand for it and there's a buyer pool in it, and just focus on what you're doing, guys, on getting through that project as quick as possible and leave a little bit extra cash in your bank account so in case you get behind, you can finish the project out. Because if you can't finish that project, you're not going to be able to get to your profit. And this is how people go bankrupt. And this is how people went bankrupt at the last correction is they had 5 or 10 houses with huge profits in all of them, and they couldn't finish any of them. And they lost all their equity and they lost all their own funds that they put into those properties because they couldn't get to the check on the back end. Make sure you can finish the property, guys. Let's go on to number 3. Now, here's my third tip for you guys. Flip on the way up, wholesale on the way down. This is a mentality that I've had for years, or that some people also have in the business, which is take on the biggest profit centers in an appreciating market when the market's going up. But when the market's potentially about to go down, minimize your risk, but still capture a check and make a profit. Now, here's why you want to think about wholesaling on the way down. You can make your biggest check in a market that's going up by flipping houses. But when it's going down, think about how many houses you were bailed out of if you're flipping houses yourself. How many houses did you barely make a profit on or break even on that if the market for the past 10 years hasn't been just flying up like a rocket ship, you would have actually lost $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 on that deal. But think about the deals you lost $20,000 on, would you have lost $50,000? So there's less room for error. Many of you have been getting bailed out by the market for years now. That bailout, that support system is not going to be here. So you need to make sure when you're flipping houses, you have the right contractors so they don't go out of business themselves and leave you hanging on the project. What happens if they're stealing materials from you guys? You can avoid all this by just wholesaling on the way down. You can put more money that you had on the side that was going to go into the renovation costs of projects that you needed sitting there as working capital. You can put that into marketing. You can generate more leads. Instead of taking the risk of an unknown marketplace that's going to show up at a different price point of what that house valuation is 6 months from now, which you don't know what it's going to be, up, flat, or down, why not look at current market data? Quick turning that property today. If you get it under contract today and you sell it this week, that's current market data. You're playing with the present, not the future. The big risk of right now, the big risk we're dealing with right now, I guess you could say, is the unknown future events of what could happen. So don't take on a project that's a long-term project that many things could happen. If you're going to hire contractors, make sure they're vetted, make sure they're strong, make sure they're sane, and they're in the right mindset right now, and they're not all tilted off of what's going on in the world. And think about taking the leads in like this. The right ones go to your rental portfolio, the safe ones you flip, but most of them you're going to wholesale for time management, capital allocation avoidance, meaning you're not tying your money up in all these different projects, and protecting yourself against the unchanging or the changing marketplace in the future that could change rapidly. So if you like number 3, guys, let's go into number 4. This is definitely going to help you guys if you're in the Airbnb market. So for number 4, guys, I want to dig into Airbnb investors and long-term rental investors, because most do both now. A lot of you guys own Airbnb properties, which is great. I'm not saying in this video that you can't make money with Airbnb going through the correction, but what I am telling you is consumer spending and consumer activity decreases when we're seeing inflation and a recession. Now, what happens in a recession is this: people's bank accounts tighten up, their pocketbook tightens up, right? Why? Well, they have less money. There's more fear. There's more uncertainty. So the first thing that happens when people have fear, uncertainty, and less money is they travel less. They go on less vacations. They go to less destinations because the expense to travel for a hotel, plane, food, and all this doesn't make sense anymore. They'd rather protect their future and their family by having that money to spend on food and their phone bills and their medical insurance and all those things that they have locally. So traveling is always going to go down when the marketplace is stressed from an external event. So keep that in mind. So the tip I want to give you is this: if you own properties that have appreciated a lot over the past few years and you have equity in them, look at how they would perform as a long-term rental. If you were to finance out, or if you were to restructure a loan, or you were to rent it as is with your current loan, would that property cash flow if a long-term rental tenant was in there? Or does it only make money because of the uniqueness of the property because it's an Airbnb property? This is where the risk comes in. If the property cash flows on a long-term rental, you're in a great property. If you were to put a tenant in there and it's negative cash flow, you're in a very risky position. I think you should think about selling that property. Unless it's a unique property that you'll never get again, what I would do is run some very detailed numbers to see the net negative, meaning are you losing $100 a month, $500 a month, or worse, and look at your own personal financial situation. Because if this lasts for 2 years, that you're going to struggle keeping that property going and performing, you may be able to float it out of pocket and eat the losses if the profits are high enough in this up market, if that makes sense. So keep in mind, guys, I wouldn't be taking on any high-risk Airbnb properties. If you do want to buy Airbnb properties, do so in an area that has high demand that you can always fill these properties, like by hospitals. Who's coming in to see their family all the time? You're always going to have people there, right? By colleges. Now you have parents coming in to see their kids. They're going to need to stay at Airbnb, right? So at least do it with a strategy, with intent. But the safest thing I guess I could tell you is look at the performance if you were to get stuck where you can't keep that Airbnb income coming in if you had to rent it. Is it positive or negative cash flow? Keep that in mind, guys. Let's go on to the next one and wrap this video up, because I want to talk about, here it is, guys, number 5. Let's wrap it up. Interest rates. Which properties should you be marketing to right now, and which ones should you try to avoid spending money on? If you only have X amount of dollars to spend to try to contact X amount of leads, you better spend them on the right leads, right? So the first one is interest rates have gone up multiple times the past year. You do not want to be marketing to interest rates that are high, meaning people that just bought a property that has one of those higher interest rates on it. You want to go back and look for the ones that have lower interest rates. Why? Here's a couple reasons why. The first one is this: if they have a high interest rate on that property, they're more likely to default and not make the payment. Now, if they do, and they have to sell the house quickly, what do you think they're going to be able to sell it to you for? There's no equity in the property. So if you're doing an exit strategy like a wholesale deal or house flip, or you're trying to buy a property as far as a rental with equity in it, then there is none. So you're wasting money on leads that you can actually buy. So if you're spending money on leads buying from list brokers and all across the country, and they have all these types of leads in them, then you're wasting money marketing to a house that you couldn't actually close on and make money on. The second thing is this: if you are marketing those properties and your mindset is, well, I can take those properties over step 2 or do some type of creative financing, because the interest rates are so high now, does that even cash flow? Most of these properties that are owned right now currently, with the relationship between rent rates, county taxes, and interest rates, and all the different things that go hand in hand to create a cash flow number, most of them will not cash flow, or they barely cash flow. So you're spending money on properties that you really can't acquire in the first place. What I would be doing is be looking for properties or individuals that bought properties during this big boom 2 to 4 years ago that now have an equity position in them that were bought with those lower interest rates, so that if they get into a situation where they can't make the payments, then you can go in, potentially do traditional exit strategies, but also you could possibly take that property over through subject to, or doing a sub-2 transaction or creative financing. So if you don't know what a sub-2 transaction is, guys, I got plenty of videos on this channel. Go check them out. Learn that strategy. It's going to be a great strategy going forward as the market turns. A lot of you guys can acquire properties that you wouldn't have otherwise because of the external pressure and not having a lot of money out there from people lending for other investors to get in the industry. So those are going to win. Those that are going to win long-term going through this are focusing on raising money and creative financing and doing safer strategies on the way down. And they're also understanding how to protect their mindset, guys. I hope you like this video. I will see you on the next one. And I'm making videos for you guys that made those comments. And if you like this video, comment below, subscribe to the channel, guys, if you haven't done so already. And I'll see you on the next one.